Should you build your own PC or not? No, because my experience building my own PC for the first time was awful. It wasn't great. So this video is going to be something different. I'm actually going to be talking instead of playing games badly or embarrassing myself. So I'm going to be talking about my experience building my first PC and whether if you're thinking about building your own PC or buying a pre-build, hopefully you'll gain something from this video. I really don't know. I didn't write a script. I have no idea what I'm gonna say. So I'm gonna go over my parts list first, with background video of me building my PC, or attempting to anyway. And then at the end of it, I'll talk about whether you should or not. So just skip to like the last 2 minutes and you'll get your answer. It's no anyway, that's the answer. Okay, so we're just gonna start with literally any of the parts really. The CPU was an AMD Ryzen 9 5900X, 12 core processor, 24 threads. Not really important. Well, actually it is. But this is more for college. I know you can game on 8 cores. This Alienware that I have beside me is that's 8 cores. It's an Intel CPU. I've always wanted to go AMD, so we're going AMD here since I was building it myself. I'll have the price on the screen that I paid for it. I don't know how much I paid for it. I have to look up my receipts. Yeah, it runs hot. It's a very hot running CPU. Talking about how hot it runs, let's talk about my AIO. It's a Corsair H100 SE Platinum. It's the white one. It's got like two 120mm fans, and the radiator, obviously it's an AIO. Yeah, it runs kind of hot. The GPU is a Gigabyte Fission OC3080. Again, this was kind of expensive due to the GPU shortage from the miners and the fact that it was coming from abroad. And also, Haste King Germany are very expensive. I've sadly learned that. The motherboard, Jesus Christ, it's a Gigabyte Fission D B550, and another experience on why you shouldn't build your own PC. I'll talk about that later, but there was a BIOS issue. Their new version, the F11 BIOS, was just it just did not work. It was a broken BIOS. Yeah, the fans, I have 6 Corsair LL 120mm fans. I nearly screwed that up. And I also had 2 of them that came with AIO. So in total, I had 8 fans on the PC. And my cat is walking all over me. And she just burnt her tail. You okay? Yeah, she's okay. The case is a Corsair 680X. And don't buy this case. I know Corsair have some good cases apparently. Apparently the 5000D Airflow, like their newest white case or black case, I don't know. Apparently that's good to build. I don't know, I've never built one. The 680X is honestly one of the worst cases I've ever built in. I wanted a dual chamber case, and I was looking at the Lian I said that wrong, 011 Dynamic. I was looking for the white one, and well, I couldn't get it. Well, I could get it actually. It was just very, very expensive. It's the same price as the Corsair case, the 680. And yeah, and Corsair when you got 4 fans with it, 3 RGB and 1 stock. And yeah, that was great at the time, but now when I go to check the Lian case, it's half the price. So I could have got the Lian case, which is the one I wanted, with the Lian fans, the magnetic ones. Oh, that would have been so much better. But look, that case might have been a pain in the arse to build as well. I don't know. The power supply is a Corsair RMx 1000 watt. I've gone far over what I need. An 850 would have been fine, but I kind of want this power supply to last me a while. It's supposed to last 10 years, I think is what the box says. I'm not checking. Yeah, so I kind of want it there just for, you know, upgradability stuff. So I can, if I want to change the graphics card, the motherboard or something like that, CPU maybe, I can just keep the same power supply, or even add like LED lights or something like that. Yeah, so I have 2 SSDs here, and they're both Samsung. Why did I choose Samsung SSDs? Because Samsung Magician. I really like Samsung Magician, so that's why I went with the Samsung SSDs, although they were very expensive. But look, that's what having a job and doing stuff is, although I haven't worked in a year and a half because coronavirus. The first SSD, which is my boot SSD, is 500 gigs of the 970 Pro Evo. Yeah, I don't need 500 gigs. 250 would have been plenty. Even 50 gigabytes would have been plenty. Anyway, and then the second SSD, which is where I actually store all my crap, is a 2TB Samsung 860 Evo. SATA connection for those of you who don't know. The other boot drive is an NVMe. So the RAM is 64 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro. white stuff. Yeah, it's the white version. It does make a difference. It's literally just the color of the metal. And yeah, I can't enable XMP, so it's stuck at 2999 megahertz or 2966 megahertz. I don't know. It's been ages since I've checked. Yeah, I can't get up to 3200 megahertz, so that's fantastic. I'll have the megahertz down on the bottom of the screen just so I can correct myself. Yeah, I can't enable XMP or take the full potential of RAM because it just crashes Windows and won't let me back in. I have to, even if I boot in safe mode, it'll still crash. So I have to leave it at the whatever frequency it is. Editor Lee will make sure to correct me. Please, I always give myself notes in videos and I never actually correct myself. Anyway, that's not important. What's important is the experience of putting all those parts together was god fucking awful. I'm sorry for cursing. It's awful. It was a bad experience. Let's see, the AIO. Now, this is my first time putting together an AIO. So there was like a shelf in the case. I don't know the name for it. There was a shelf in the top of the case where I could have attached the AIO and then put it in. I didn't notice. I did make the mistake of putting the fans on backwards in the first place, and then I changed it. So, and then actually I re-changed it to try help the CPU temperatures eventually, like 2 months later. So yeah, I wasted a bit of time building it there. So that took about 2 hours. Connecting all the cables and the fan headers for the AIO, the Corsair RGB hub, and then the motherboard was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. It was bad, and oh Jesus, it was just a mess. And I had people watching me on the stream. They tried their best. One guy, I think he wanted to kill himself afterwards. Another guy tried his best, and eventually I got it. Although Corsair IQ doesn't recognize my AIO, so I'm not sure if I hooked it up wrong. If Corsair IQ is bad, I'm told Corsair IQ is bad. Although I feel like I've done something wrong with the wiring. Although it does work, it's just not coming up, so I can't really monitor anything or change color of the fans. I'd like to change color of the fans. But yeah, no, that's great. So if that's something that bothers you with fan color, then you know, pre-builds might be a little bit better. And obviously temperatures as well. You know, I was told that the H100 SE Platinum or even the H100i was enough for a 5900X. And maybe it is. I haven't properly stress tested. I've played one game of Fortnite where I got up to 65 degrees with just Fortnite open. So it has a fit when I open up Chrome. So that's something. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the BIOS. So I knew going into this build, I'd have to update the BIOS. And I chose the Gigabyte Vision D. Well, one, because it's white. And two, because I had a Q-Flash option on it. I also saw NZXT's one a few months later. That would have been nice, although I don't know if it has Q-Flash on it. So yeah, I don't know if I'd risk it or not. Well, anyway, Gigabyte motherboard had a Q-Flash on it. I did flash the F11 BIOS onto it, but I wasn't getting an output with the base BIOS that was on it. I don't know the name of the version. It might have been F9 or something. I don't know. And yeah, it didn't work. I was getting no output at all. And I did cry a little. So that was F11 I was on it, and I just wasn't getting any output. So I sent it to an unnamed company, we're going to say, because I don't want them to get any backlash from this or not. And, well, they kept it for 2 months. They done a bit of cable management on it, because I can't cable manage for shit. And, yeah, they gave it back to me without doing anything, but I didn't have to pay for it. So that's something. Free cable management for the cost of 2 months. And then I decided, before I lost all hope and just sold all the parts, I was going to try reflash the BIOS, and F13E, I'm going to call it, was available. So I decided to try that, and lo and behold, I got an output. So it was a BIOS issue, although I was convinced that the motherboard was just fucked. And yeah, that was a painful experience and very stressful, especially during college time when this PC was supposed to be mainly for college. Well, let's be honest, I'm going to play games on it, but it was for college. So that was a horrible, stressful time. That's the main factor behind me not wanting to build a PC again. Yeah, and also, now this isn't necessarily the building experience of the PC's fault, but I left the thermal paste that came with the Corsair AIO. So this unnamed company took the AIO off the CPU for whatever reason. Obviously they saw it was a 5000 series CPU or an AMD CPU, and they were like, oh fuck that, we only do Intel or whatever. Put the block back on the CPU without adding any more thermal paste. And if any of you know that that's not good, There's no smooth surface, there's no gaps being filled. There's gonna be gaps anyway. There's gonna be more gaps. You had to just had it bare, and yeah, that caused temperatures to go up by quite a bit. Of course, I didn't notice. Oh, I went and bought Thermal Grizzly's Cryonaut, and that seemed to bring the temps down by about 10 degrees. So I went from idling at 60 to idling at 50, 45, 50. Depending on if I had the, what's it called, NCXT cam running or not, which I'll probably uninstall now as I have CORSAIR RMx. And that seems to be managing temps finally, although not my AIO, which is what I wanted for, was to monitor the AIO. Anyway, that was an awful experience. If you are gonna build your own PC, make sure you have like a company or someone who knows what they're doing on standby in case you can't do it or something gets broken. Also, don't buy off Amazon because they sell used parts, but say that they're new. My motherboard was used. But yeah, no, I'd get a pre-built, ignoring the shortage because it's less hassle. There's one point of contact for you to go and talk to people. And yeah, it's honestly a painful experience. It looks great. You feel good after building it and getting it working. But it's one of the most painful experiences ever. And this has cost me the same amount as a pre-built with similar specs would. Only difference is I built this. I'm not even using it at the moment. I'm using the fucking Alienware pre-built. There's all my college shits on it. Because I didn't get my PC built in time to move all my assignments onto it. I've had a terrible experience. So, answering my question, should you build your own PC or not? No. Buy a pre-built. Save yourself some hassle. Also, subscribe, because I need subscribers. I want to hit 100 before the end of the year.